Hey guys, Heidi Preeb here. I currently have 30 minutes left on this SD card, and usually when I film ENFP videos, I film them for like an hour and a half and then cut them down to 15 minutes. So today I'm going to challenge myself by trying to keep this relatively short, and we'll see what happens. But I was also going through old articles of mine the other day, and I found an article where I had compiled a whole bunch of answers to the question, how do you win over an ENFP? And I remember that this was a series I did back when I was working at Thought Catalog that everyone found to be very helpful and also a lot of fun, which was just how to win over every type. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this into a video because I want all of us to have better relationships with each other and to get laid more and to just be able to relate deeply to the people in their lives. So if you have an ENFP in your life, or if you are an ENFP, and you are looking for ways to connect more deeply with the people around you, here are some of the things that are most important to ENFPs that will allow you to get a lot closer to the ENFP in your life a lot more quickly than you otherwise might be able to. So these are kind of communication hacks. Maybe I'll end up doing this for all the types, we'll see. But in the interest of not wasting space on my SD card, I'm going to get right into it. So, tip number one for winning over an ENFP, whether you're trying to woo them romantically or whether you're just trying to form a closer relationship with one, or if you have a family member who's an ENFP who you have trouble connecting with, is take an interest in their interests. Now, obviously, this is universal advice, right? Anytime you take an interest in something that somebody loves, it's going to bring you closer together. However, something that not a lot of people understand about ENFPs is that we are giant nerds. We live so much of our lives inside of our own minds, and we don't always know who wants to hear about what's inside of our minds, right? Like, we have so many theories, we're constantly turning over in our brains, we're usually consuming tons of information about whatever topics interest us on a daily basis, and we're never really sure who wants to hear us go on like a giant rant about what we're thinking about, and who would prefer that we keep it to ourselves. So, if you can figure out what your ENFP's kind of nerdy interests are, and then you can gain a working understanding of that field and start asking your ENFP questions about what they think about different issues in that field, or about what they're reading about or what they're interested in relation to that, that is going to be a very quick way to make the ENFP in your life feel super comfortable opening up to you, because our dominant cognitive function is extroverted intuition. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say cognitive functions, I'm talking about the different areas of your brain that you use to process information, make decisions, process your emotions, relate to other people, and I go into depth about what each of these cognitive functions looks like and how it shows up for you in your life in my 6-week Soul Bootcamp course for ENFPs, which you can check out at my website, www.heidipreeb.com, and I will leave the link to that in the description of this video. Now, we are extroverted, intuitive, dominant types, and what that means is that we are always on about some new theory. Like, we live our life first in theory, then in reality. And if you can find a way to engage with your ENFP about the theories that they are turning over in their minds and that they are spending most of their days thinking about, you have to be careful because you will be opening up a floodgate, but they will be more than happy usually to share with you all of their thoughts on a given topic. And it will feel like a massive relief that someone finally wants to know about what's in their minds. So I remember someone telling me one time that they had met an INTJ who said that their love language was someone reading their research papers. They were an academic researcher. And I think that whether or not your ENFP is in academics or is in research, that is precisely the concept of what makes us feel loved, right? Someone really caring about what's going on inside of our minds, how we're thinking about things, how we're perceiving the world, and what our opinions are, is absolutely the ENFP's love language, right? Because we have such strong opinions about so many things, and we have so many thoughts that we're constantly churning over in our brains. And knowing that someone cares about that and that someone wants to know more about what we think is the number one thing that I think makes ENFPs feel seen and loved. We are such bubbly people, such good-natured people, but a lot of people overlook the fact that we are primarily intellectual people. And we're always going to be the happiest when we can share what's going on inside of our intellectual minds with someone else. Now, to take things in a totally different direction, tip number 2 for winning over an ENFP is make us laugh. And again, this goes for any type. Nobody doesn't like to laugh, but ENFPs kind of have these two sides to their personality, right? One is super bubbly and outgoing and lighthearted, but the other side of us is that we're very emotionally deep. We do take life very seriously inside of our own minds. And when we find someone who we can connect with through shared humor, it really kind of lightens that experience for us because we can get really caught up in our kind of existential musings, when someone comes along and they can just make a joke out of things that we are feeling and thinking very heavily about a lot of the time, that is such a quick way to connect with that person. And this kind of naturally follows from point number 1, right? Because if you understand what we're thinking about and what topics we're kind of turning over in our minds in a very deep way, and then you can make us laugh about it, that is going to create this beautiful union of feeling like we can trust you with our thoughts and feelings, but also like it doesn't have to be so serious all the time, right? I think that the number 1 trait I personally look for when it comes to friends, partners, any type of relationship that I want to grow into something more long-term is a shared sense of humor. Someone who finds the same things that I find funny. Because ENFPs are at their core just very into experiencing all the different facets of life. We tend to be very comfortable with discomfort, and so we love when we can find that trait in another person, and we know I can go into any situation with this person, and even if it's terrible, even if it's uncomfortable, we're gonna find something to laugh about. Right? That trait is probably the number 1 thing that I personally look for when I'm looking for someone who I want to really take my relationship of any form to the next level with. So a shared sense of humor is a really big green flag. And tip number 3 is going to address a red flag, which is to win over an ENFP, make sure that you are respecting their independence and that you have your own sense of independence. So a big red flag for most ENFPs very early on is if they feel like someone is trying to suffocate them or smother them. That is very scary for us because we are people who have a humongous, varied amount of interests. We really like to explore lots of different areas of life, and we need to have the space and freedom to do that without feeling like that exploration is going to threaten the relationship that we have with someone. So, some people prefer to have relationships where there is not a lot of independent exploration happening outside the relationship. And if that's the kind of person you are, that is totally fine. But an ENFP might not be the best choice of a serious romantic partner or a close friend for you, because an ENFP is going to feel pretty smothered by someone who doesn't give them a lot of time to do their own thing, to go out into the world, to have new experiences, and then to come back and share those experiences with the people they love. That's truly what makes us the happiest in life. So to scare off an ENFP immediately, try to smother them, try to make their world very small. Tell them that they can't do something, or try to set limits on their freedom, right? They are going to get out of your life very quickly if you're trying any of that. But if you want to grow a relationship with them that's going to last, make sure you show them that you really respect their freedom, that you really want them to have an independent life where they're doing their own thing a lot of the time, and that you're really excited to hear about the adventures that they're having, to share in a lot of those adventures with them if and when it makes sense for you to have shared experiences. And part and parcel with this comes your ability to showcase your own independence. And once again, if you are not a person who is very independent, you are probably not going to be served immensely by having a relationship with an ENFP. But if you are someone who has a lot of your own stuff going on and who really does feel like they also like to have a lot of independence within a relationship, this could be a great match because the ENFP is probably going to be very drawn to the zest that you have for life as well, right? And they're probably going to appreciate the fact that you're a person who has a lot of their own interests, who has friends and a life of their own, and who isn't looking to kind of lose themselves in another person, but who's just looking to share the things that you're both super excited about whenever it makes sense for you to. And obviously, depending on the nature of your relationship, you might have to negotiate how much independence versus interdependence your relationship entails. But I think you'll find that as long as you're not making them feel smothered or like you are expecting them to give up things they love in order to be a part of your life, ENFPs are pretty open to having those negotiations because we do care very deeply about the people that we love, and we do really want to invest in relationships that feel right for us. We just need to know that we're not going to lose ourselves within those relationships. So finding someone who has a strong sense of independence and who has a lot of their own things going on and who respects that we're the same way is going to go a really, really long way for ENFPs when it comes to figuring out who they want to invest heavily in, whether that's a friendship, a romantic relationship, or just any type of person we might want to get to know better. And again, that's kind of universal, like having your own things going on and having things you care about and are passionate about and being excited by what other people are passionate about. That's just hot. It doesn't matter who you are or who you're trying to win over. Relationships require people being willing and excited to share themselves with each other without losing touch of who they are independently, right? Tip number 4, and in my opinion, this is always the thing that's going to take it to the next level with an ENFP. Have meaningful shared experiences with them. So, ENFPs are not very vocal about this, but we think of our lives like stories, like we are constantly kind of unpacking and writing the story of our own lives. And the people who we share really meaningful experiences with are now written into the stories of our lives, right? And once a character is written into the story of our lives in a meaningful way, as long as we're happy with the role that they've played in our story, we have a very strong motivation to continue to write them into the next chapters. The reason being is that ENFPs are secretly some of the most sentimental mofos you will ever meet in your life. And again, we are not loud about this. We might even try intentionally to hide this, but we are so deeply sentimental. And when we share meaningful experiences with people, we reflect on those for years and years to come. Like, I am embarrassed actually by how much I reflect on my past and how much I treasure the memories that I've made with the friends and the people I love. It feels like I put a lot more emphasis on that than other people. But I think anyone with either introverted feeling or introverted sensing, but especially if you have both of them in your cognitive stacking like the ENFP does, really does share that tendency to reflect really deeply, to integrate memories on a really deep level, and to really value the people who we have those meaningful memories with. So if you want to really take things to the next level with the ENFP in your life, try to do something that feels really meaningful for both of you together. Take a trip with them to somewhere that you know they've always wanted to go, or learn a new skill with them, or find some other way to spend really meaningful quality time together that you know they won't be able to easily forget about, right? It's really easy to forget about the people we go out and party with. It's even really easy to forget about the people we go out and do kind of benign activities with when we don't really make a deep connection while doing those activities. But if you can find a way to kind of insert yourself into the story of their lives in a meaningful way, that's really going to motivate the ENFP to continue to engage and deepen their relationship with you, because they now see you as someone who is almost a part of themselves, not in like a codependent way. I mean, it could be in a codependent way, but red flags will hopefully alert you to that if that's the case. But just in the sense of the people that we love as ENFPs, we really do see as kind of a part of who we are. And that means we're always going to be willing to prioritize those people and to take time for those people whenever we can. And often the people who we grow to love become the people we grow to love because we've shared valuable experiences with them, and we can see that they have been there through the really pivotal moments in our lives. And I guarantee you that if you are someone who the ENFP reminisces about, who they have really strong, really powerful, really connected memories with, you are absolutely inside of their heart at that point. In what capacity? I don't know, but you're there, you matter to them, and they're probably at that point already going to be taking proactive effort to keep you in their life. And last tip for winning over an ENFP, and this could potentially negate everything that came before this point, if anything that came before this point felt inauthentic to you, is be sincere and authentic. ENFPs can smell inauthenticity a mile away, and it is probably our single biggest turnoff in a person. I would, any day of the week, 100% of the time, much rather someone come to me and tell me the thing that they are most embarrassed about in terms of who they are as a person than have someone try to impress me in a way that I know is inauthentic and fake, right? Someone trying to act perfect, someone trying to act like they never make any mistakes, someone trying to impress me or show me something that they think I'm gonna like fawn over is probably my single greatest turnoff. And I think that that goes for a lot of ENFPs, because when I do surveys, something that comes up again and again and again is emotional honesty and authenticity, and I cannot back that up enough. Like when someone is honest with me and shares things about themselves to me that I think it would be difficult for someone to share, like that is such an attractive quality. Someone who is emotionally secure enough to be able to share the things that they struggle with and that they're maybe a little bit more embarrassed about, and who doesn't need to present themselves as like perfect and flawless, that is instantly someone I want to get to know better. Like no questions asked. Even if I don't like other aspects of a person's personality, if they show up with authenticity and honesty and transparency, it is just so endearing, so instantly endearing to me in a way that truly so few other qualities are. So somewhat ironically, after we just spent like half an hour talking about the traits that you should try to cultivate and show up with in relationship to the ENFP, the number one thing that's going to get you there truly is authenticity. So even if you are not a particularly independent person, but you can lead with that and you can sit down in front of them and go, I have issues with codependency and I am self-aware and maybe I'm working on it or whatever it is, but you're not trying to hide that part of yourself or pretend to be something that you're not, that self-awareness in and of itself is probably going to be more attractive to us than anything else. Self-awareness and authenticity is, I think, the number one thing that ENFPs are constantly looking for in any relationship, whether it's romantic, platonic, or just someone who we would or would not want to talk to at the bus stop for 5 minutes. Authenticity is probably the number one thing. And I think that that really goes for anyone who has introverted feeling, because introverted feeling is a function that is so focused on authenticity and that really values being able to be honest with other people. So if someone comes to us and they're honest about what's going on with them, it instantly kind of makes us feel like, okay, now I can be honest with this person, right? Like they're not scared off by authenticity. They want to have those real deep connections. And that is in and of itself usually going to be enough for us to really want to get to know that person a lot better. Okay, I think that I actually did it, and I kept this video to under half an hour of raw footage. So that is a first for me, and I'm very proud of myself. But I know that this list is only 5 items long, and when I did the surveys, there was like hundreds of responses from ENFPs that all had something a little bit different. So leave a note in the comments letting other people know what works for you, what wins you over as an ENFP, or what makes you instantly feel like you want to be closer to someone or you want to get to know someone better. And if you're an ENFP, hopefully this video is just helpful for anyone in your life who wants to get to know you better as well. All right, quick reminder, I do run a 6-week ENFP Soul Bootcamp course, which you can find on my website at www.heidipriebe.com, where we talk about how to live your most authentic and aligned life as an ENFP. You can check it out at the link below. And until next time, I love you guys. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you back here again soon.